Okiya Omtatah simply stands out. He is a man who takes no prisoners, takes no chances, and a stickler for the rule of law. A set of qualities that have earned him friends and foes in equal measure. From active street protests, countless number of nights in police custody and court appearances, he has stealthily planted himself in court, where he single-handedly files and litigates matters of public interest that continue to endear him to many Kenyans. Call him man of the people or people's advocate. Andrew Okiya Omtatah Koiti, the untold story. "54-year-old Andrew Okiya Omtatah Koiti was born on 30th November 1964 in Kwangamor village, Teso South in Busia County. Kwangamor Primary, St. Paul's Amkura, St. Peter's Seminary Mukumu, Tindinyu College are the institutions he attended for his education. Omtatah qualified to join the University of Nairobi, but had other ideas. He wanted to become a priest instead. He joined Bungoma's Mabanga St. Augustine's Philosophical, where he studied philosophy, but as fate would have it, his dream to become a priest would not materialize.
I began getting very, very severe epileptic fits, and that meant that I could not continue with the priesthood, because if you get an epileptic fit during the very solemn celebration of the Eucharist, it will be very bad. So I was told I could not continue. So I went back home and I began to put my life together.
His attempts to pick up the opportunity he had got at the university came to naught when he was informed that his chance had already been taken. One afternoon, as he played football, his favorite game, he suffered an epileptic fit. He says that was the last attack thanks to a local teacher. With no priesthood to chase and no university admission, Okiya Omtatah Koiti opted to change course by enrolling at the Kenya Polytechnic, now the Technical University of Kenya, to study automotive engineering, but that was as far as it went.
When I came out, I found it a bit too... I couldn't practice what I had trained in, because basically you had to come down and just be a spanner boy.
But Omtatah, it would appear, did not just start his activism as an adult. The writing was always on the wall.
But all through my school life, I remember when I look at my report cards, I get remarks like obedient, but outspoken, things like those were there. I also remember I was a head boy at A level, and I had to be suspended for defending certain rights of students.
Public defender, a man of the people as many now refer to him on social media, says his education in the seminary played a critical role in molding him. As he recalls, they didn't emphasize academic performance, though they performed well.
We used to have a place in school where we had some platform which had built which we used to call the Stone of Wisdom. Now, on the Stone of Wisdom, when we sat on that stone, or around that stone, you enjoyed the total immunity from anything you would say. And the teachers would come there, and I think once a week, we used to have that engagement whereby you could offload whatever you have on your teachers or on anybody, and nothing could be held against you as long as you're on the Stone of Wisdom. So that particular environment whereby you could question authority and demand that things be done right was something that I think was then inbuilt in my formation in the seminary. that to this day I cannot keep quiet when I see something going wrong.
It's on that basis that he decided to offload his engineering expertise and plunge into human rights street activism. The late Nobel laureate Professor Wangari Maathai was his role model. His first ever street protest was the Wangari Maathai-led demonstrations at the Freedom Corner in support of preservation of Uhuru Park. Omtatah says he still believes in his priesthood and argues that whatever he does is informed by his strong belief in the social doctrine of the gospel.
To be able to change the world, you don't need to do big things. If I'm walking on a road, I'm wearing very good shoes with very strong soles, maybe even made of stone or iron or steel, and I see a thorn on the road. If I pick that thorn and throw it away, I make the world better for those who don't have shoes.
As anticipated, his run-ins with anti-riot police in his line of street activism has made him a guest of state countless number of times and have earned him his own share of experience in police cells.
And even when we used to be arrested a lot and be thrown in the cells, the cops would not understand a lot of things. I would get into those cells and I would get a bucket and clean them and clean the toilets. By the time I left the cells, they were much better than I found them. So I have got that strong belief in making whatever I encounter better than I found it.
Okoiti says he has all along endeavored to be his own man, a secret he says has enabled him to stay afloat this far.
I'm a very strong believer in autonomy or independence, and that's why I do a lot of work in terms of my private businesses where I engage mainly in cereals, buying and selling cereals. I make some profit and I put a bit of it in activism, and that way I've been able to take on anybody, because then I'm not begging anybody for support, I'm not begging anybody for anything, so I jealously guard my autonomy.
With territory comes experience, so they say, in a bid to avoid almost guaranteed arrest during any protest. The veteran activist devised a survival tactic. He acquired a 78-kilogram chain that he transported to every protest.
When you were in these demos, I realized that the police had a knack of targeting individuals and spiriting them out. And that's how my idea of a chain was born, because I realized if you come with a chain and you hold on to the chain, all of you, then the police become powerless against you, and you can use that chain to tie the police. When they come in a formation and you go around them, you tie them up, and you get in a lockup. So that's why you begin negotiating. So the chain became a very, very effective tool. And if you remember, it used to be very long. It was out of design that with that long chain, and you could rehearse with the fellow protesters so that when the police charged, we could open and then we could tie them up with the chain, and then we could either fall down in a pile, we could do whatever, then they could also begin pleading.
But perhaps the most memorable incident is this in January 2008. As Kenya went up in political flames amid the tense political environment, Omtatah staged a shocking stunt. He says he had been given burning intelligence from highly placed sources, which he needed to disseminate immediately.
I was called by some people who told me that they work for the NSIS. They called me and said, we would like to meet you urgently. And they said there was a plan that was going to mess up the country. There was a plan to massacre people in Eldoret, to massacre people in Kisumu, to massacre people in Kakamega as a way of intimidating. Those were the main hotspots of resistance. So they told me if that happens, there could be a military conflagration in the country from the intelligence, from what they were assessing. So what they told me is that we need this information to get out. And they gave me documents and information on that. So they said, we need this information to get out so that the people can know what is cooking in the background, because you don't want this country to go to the dogs. And remember that time they had banned, Michuki had banned the press conferences. So I tried to call a press conference. Nothing happened. And so, and remember that day, that evening, on the day before I changed myself in the evening, There was this guy in Kisumu who was doing this and he was shot dead. When then this police spokesman comes up and says, these are videos, those are doctored videos that are fake news. And what you call fake news today. The word fake news did not come up at that time. Yeah, Rambo movie or something like that. So that thing, those things act.
It's at this juncture that he perhaps did the unthinkable in light of the prevailing circumstances.
I went to the basilica and prayed. And I said, I'm going to sleep in the morning. I want a formula of how I can get to address a press conference. So when I woke up in the morning, my mind was very clear. Get a chain, go chain yourself at the police headquarters because they'd sealed off Uhuru Park and they declared a curfew. But when I went to check, I noticed that they were not guarding their headquarters. They were guarding everybody's place but except their place. So I said, this is a perfect place. So I went to buy a chain. I went to the Nakumatt, which burnt down. So I went there and I said, I want a chain. So they showed me some chains. I said, no. This one is weak. I want a strong chain that cannot be cut. So they said, there's one chain we bought here, but nobody has ever bought it. So I told them I just needed a short chain which I could use to chain myself and that could fit around my waist. So I just to lock a gate. So I told them I had something that can go around my waist without going to lock a gate. So they said, but this one, if you want this one, you have to take the whole thing because as you said, one cannot be cut, you can also not cut it. So I was forced to buy the whole chain. So I went and it cost me 7,000 shillings. Then I wanted a steel padlock, which I could clamp. The padlock cost me 2,700. I had 10,000 shillings in my pocket. I paid with 300.
He targeted the police headquarters, Vigilance House. With the all-round clock security, one Andrew Okiya Omtatah Koiti decided to go and chain himself at the gate in order to get the attention he needed. He bought a new chain at the then Nakumatt downtown supermarket and got the strongest padlock on the shelves. He quickly thought of leaving behind the chain, took all the keys to his office and returned with the padlock alone, ready to transport his new protest tool to Vigilance House. Time was of the essence.
Then I came back, because this was a padlock that you snap on. Then I came back for the chain. So I flagged, I looked for a taxi. The taxi man, I told him I've got a trailer stuck in Nairobi West and I would like to transport this chain to go and tow it. So the man said he wanted 500 shillings. I had only 300. So I negotiated and they agreed the 300. So I took the chain, I put it on the back seat of the taxi on the left-hand side. Then I sat on the chain and I told him I have to pick a letter from the police headquarters. So let us pass by there. There's somebody waiting to give me a letter there. So as I was sitting on the chain, I tied the chain here so I was able to lift it with my waist and I remained only with the two edges. So when I reached the place, I told him this is what, and then I paid him his money, the 300. So when I reached there, I told him this is the place. Just hold on, that's the person I want to take a letter from. I said, where is the person? I can't see any person. I said, no, just hold on. So I bolted out, I opened the door, and when the man saw me the way I came out, he drove off with his door open, and I dashed and I hit my target and locked it.
His daring charge earned him an arrest yet again. However, the celebrated activist says, for the first time in his street protest life, he was received rather differently at the Central Police Station.
Well, I was arrested, and I was taken to Central. An interesting thing, when I was taken to Central, the policeman there gave me a mock guard of honor. Because they said, if you are able to capture our headquarters, we cannot detain you. So you are our hero. So they gave me a guard of honor when I was going to the cells, and they gave me a mattress to sleep on. The only time I have slept on a mattress in the cells.